Finally, good ladder where I can take this banner down to move it around for the rearrangement. Oh, you can't use that ladder. Stop. What? Moving the banner over there. That's the blanket ladder I made for Lacey for our 15-year wedding anniversary. You can't go and mess it up by climbing up that ladder. Why don't y'all sit back, hit subscribe, and let me show you how I put this ladder together. Now this is going to be a fairly simple supply list. All we need here, like I said, I'm building an 8-foot blanket ladder. We got 2 9-foot poplar boards, and then also I got this round right here. So the very first thing I'm going to do on this, I'm going to cut these down to size, because like I said, I don't need the full 9 foot of this. All I'm needing is 8 foot. But in the process, I'm going to radius this up here. So it's going to have sort of a half circle. So what I've already done, I went through and made my marks on these, and I'm going to cut these out just using a good old jigsaw, because I don't got a lot of fancy tools. Got what I have. Now, I didn't get these exact, but I'll be able to come through with some sandpaper and make it where they're exactly match how I want them. Now to this little piece of sandpaper and clamps holding everything together to make sure it's lined up. That now all matches. Let's take a look at the other end now. Now with this being a ladder, we do need to make a little bit of angle. That way it does have full contact with the floor. I was going to round it off like the same I did on that end, but knowing what size blankets are going to be going on this, I do want a little bit more support on the floor, giving it less likely a chance to slide, and also I think it'll end up looking better in the long run. So what I did, I got my angle I want to cut right here, and I'm going to do the same thing, just get the jigsaw out, cut it on down. It's that simple. Now this time for the edge, I am going to use the DA to make it a little bit faster instead of sanding it by hand, because that didn't need much, but I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to make that a little bit smoother. Now the next thing we have to do is figure out where we want our runners on this. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to come 2 inches off the top and 2 inches off the bottom, and then somewhat see what would be the best layout. On average, your steps are about 13 inches apart for a normal ladder. Now this, I'm going to make it add a few more because it is going to be decorative. So I'm going, with my measurement, gives us about 90 inches in between that first dot and this dot here. So I'm going to divide that, we'll say by 10, we'll do 9 inches apart on this. That'll end up giving us a total of 11 steps on this ladder. Now, I've already actually gone through and marked this. So now I'm going to go through my square and find center of each one of my marks, and then we'll show you the next step. Okay, now that I got everything marked out where I want to drill my holes, I got an 1.25 inch Forstner bit that I'm going to go through and drill everything for my legs on here. I do have all these clamped together. That way I know everything's all lined up exactly how it should, to make life hopefully go easier when I go to start putting this together. As you see, we got all of our holes drilled. Took a little longer than I was wanting it to take, mainly because I probably need to upgrade to a brushless, something with a little bit more power and doesn't wear the battery out as quick. But all is looking good so far. For my next part, I'm actually going to get my router, and I'm going to go all the way around these edges to just give a little bit more profile definition, just something to make it a little more unique. Do wish I had a router table, but It's right here. It's going to work just fine for what I'm trying to do here. Let me get all this other knocked out, and I'll be right back with you. Now, with this next part is where I wish I had a chop saw, or a miter saw, should I say. I need to cut these down to where they're just 15 inches wide. And these are going to be our steps on our ladder. Now, unfortunately for me, all I have is a skill saw and a jigsaw, so that's what I get to use. Luckily, I have somewhat of a straight hand on cutting with the jigsaw, mainly because that's all I've had pretty much ever since I started doing any sort of woodwork, was just a skill saw and a jigsaw. But luckily with this, once I get everything glued in, I'll be able to come through with the sander and smooth everything out. So, apparently I forgot to hit record whenever I went through and put all the legs down on one side. So what I did, I got them all pressed in. I just have Top Bond 3 glue holding this in. That's all it's going to need on these. Like I said, this isn't going to be an actual work ladder. Like I said, it's just holding blankets. And there's no reason for staples or screws in this. This glue is going to hold just fine with no issues. Now for this side, what I've done, I've loosely set the legs in each one of these. That way I can get it lined up, and now I got my glue off in there, so I can come through and press all these into place before that glue dries, and that way I'm not trying to fight glue in each one of these pegs. So let me get these pushed in and show you how this all looks. So as you see, we got all of ours pressed in. Now granted, on this side I will have a little cleanup. These are from me not having a good miter saw, so I can make all these cuts nice and even. So some of these were a little off. But we got the start of our ladder. Now luckily this side, all nice and smooth. I'm gonna give this a few hours to sit here and do its thing, and then it's time for us to get some sealer or paint or whatever I decide to put on here. Not quite sure yet. Let's see what I come up with. Okay, y'all, it's been a day. All my glue's dried. Now it's the fun part of sanding this. Now what I'm doing, I have 120 grit on here. I'm just gonna go around, sand everything, and then blow it off and get it where it's ready to get some paint. Now, take in mind, I will be doing a lot of this by hand. That way, I don't sit there and gouge, especially like these edges right here where I've done that quarter round on there. And off inside here where I don't hit it and gouge into the runners on there. But, time to get back at it. Now, once we got this all sanded, it's time to clean this thing off. What I always start with, good blower, blow all the dust, everything that I can off of this to start prepping it for paint. Now we got this thing all blown off and wiped down with the tack rag. I'm gonna come in with my wood stain. Now what I have here is it's gonna give it sort of a weathered look stain. So see how well everything comes out on here. I'm just using a foam brush just to make it simple and easy for me. Generally I like to spray stuff since I was an automotive painter by trade for years, but I don't have a booth in here and I don't want to get overspray all over everything, so brush it is. Now it's not going to change this too much on here because like I said, this is just somewhat of a whitish stain, so. And I'm no master at staining stuff. I Like I said, give me a car or something to paint, do that no problem. This, whole other ball game for me. Well, y'all, as y'all see, the blanket ladder is complete. We do have it up here in our living room. I was able to give it to my wife on our anniversary. Everything came out great. There are a few little things I probably would change next time I do this, but overall, I'm not complaining. It's my first attempt to ever trying to do this, and do recommend having a good miter saw to, especially on these runners right here. Would have saved me a lot of time on sanding, and because like I said, freehanding stuff with a jigsaw, yeah, it can work. And there's other things I could have done to make it a little bit straighter than what I did, but didn't do that. Trying to cut corners and did bite me in the ass a little bit, but you see, it's all good and it's home now. Thank y'all for making it this far in this video. If you have, be sure to hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel. We got lots of videos coming out. I'm trying to get where I'm back doing this weekly again. My schedule's finally allowed me to where I can sit here and focus on YouTube again. So until next time, y'all take it easy.